today. My name is Tracy Matson. I'm a certified professional dog trainer, and I'm excited to be here tonight to answer all of your training questions. While we're waiting for people to get on, I thought I would give you kind of a tip about bringing home a new puppy. A lot of people really stress about, oh my gosh, I've got this new puppy. What do I do? The first thing you want to do is let the puppy acclimate and get used to things for a few days. Hey, Nicole. So for a few days, just establish a structure and a routine. So start potty training, crate training, just setting a routine for the pup. So not even a ton of training. And then you can start to catch. Hi, Elizabeth. Then you can start to catch behaviors that you like, such as the dog checking in with you or sitting for something, like things like that. So, um, and then start to make, if you have a really young puppy, like 8 to 16 weeks, then start to do a lot of really positive socialization because that's the time you can't get back. You can teach a dog any age how to do behaviors, but you can't go back and take advantage of those early socialization periods. So, get your dog used to people like men with hats, sunglasses, beards, hoodies, children, bikes, all that kind of stuff. And the way that we usually do that is just pair it with treats. Um, so, just get that early socialization. It seems like a lot of the clients that I have right now have very fearful dogs. In fact, I worked with one this week that was super aggressive. Like I couldn't even touch the dog. I couldn't pet the dog. So I had to work with it from a distance. But the main problem is they got this dog during COVID and did zero socialization. Like they didn't go out. They stayed in. The dog didn't wasn't around. Hey, Anthony was not around other people, other dogs. So super aggressive. And hey, Karen. So anyway, that's my kind of training tip for um, if you're bringing home a new puppy. Is just establish a routine, start potty training, crate training, stuff like that, and then as your dog gets older, then you can start, teaching a check-in, um, sit for food, hand targeting, like that kind of stuff. But the other thing I would do with puppies is lots of handling. Hey, Julie. So feet, nails, tail, um, all of that. Julie, I don't know why I always write your whole name out, but I am. So, and with that, it's really important that you let the dog back away if the dog wants to. So if you're handling feet and nails and the dog backs away or pulls their paw back, let them do that. We always want to give the dog choice and control over their environment. So if they're like, I don't like that, then let them pull it away. And then wait for them to be ready again, and then you can try it again and always pair it with treats. So, super important. Just because when you go to the vet, if you have to muzzle your dog, it's just more stressful. Sometimes there are occasions when a muzzle actually helps a dog calm down and helps a dog feel better. But for the most part, it just kind of, it can be really nerve wracking to be restrained and have a muzzle on. So the more that you can do while your puppy is young and make handling and vet visits really positive, the better. Depending on where you live, if your vet is allowing you to come in now, you can go do happy visits where you just go to the vet, step on the scale, have the front staff give treats, and then you leave. So you go into the vet, your dog gets treats, but nothing bad happens. So they don't get examined, they don't get anything like that done. So those are just some recommendations on some things that you can do with a new puppy. Hello, Daphne. Um, okay, so that's my training tip for the week. What questions do you guys have? Um, as far as I'm trying to get this light a little bit better. Um, what training questions do you have that I can answer this week? If not, let me try and think of another training tip or something else that we can talk about. Usually I'll pick a topic of something that I've experienced this week with clients, which was the dog that wasn't socialized and was terrified of people. Looks like it's snowing too. Let's see, what else did I have this week? I should grab I don't know where my calendar is. I saw Anthony. Yes, we can talk about recalls. In fact, I just did that today earlier. So I'll start talking about how I train recalls, and then if you have a specific question, feel free to ask. So my rule on recall is I don't use the word COME, and the reason I'm spelling it is because my dogs are all here. I don't use that word unless I am 100% sure the dog's going to do it. Because if you say the word and the dog doesn't come and get reinforced, they learn to ignore you. And the dog's probably doing something else, like sniffing, playing, exploring, and so then they're kind of self-rewarding for ignoring you. So I was just working with a client today, and I said, let's do this on leash outside. We did it off leash inside, but then we moved outside, and we did a few with the leash, and I had to kind of help and reel the dog in, and like, oh, let's go, and it should be really fun. Like coming to you should be more fun than anything else. And then the guy took the leash off, and there are a few times when the dog went to bark at something, and then she was barking at something, and then he used the recall, and then she didn't come. And the problem was then we didn't have a leash on, and so there was no way that we could reinforce it. So I always like to use a leash, especially outside with distractions. So if a dog is outside and there's distractions and you're not totally positive your dog's going to come, I don't say it. I'll say, hey, let's go over here. I'll whistle. I'll do something else, but I reserve the recall. And I'll start with a 6-foot leash. And then today we had this dog on a 20-foot leash. So then the dog could kind of explore, run around, have some freedom. But then we would recall. But then we had the leash just in case we needed to help the dog. And then I'll often have him drag a leash so that if the dog doesn't come, I can pick up the leash and help. Because if you say COME, you need to make sure your dog's going to come and get reinforced. And then I'll usually give the treat, and then I'll release the dog again and say, okay, go play. So that coming to you is never a bad thing. So it's not so what had happened is before his dog would come and then he would grab his dog, leash him up and take him away from the park. And so now the dog won't come. And if he does come, he's out of reach so that you can't grab him. Or her, sorry, it's female. So one thing we started working on is having the dog come up and hand target. And Anthony, I also do that for recall. I will start by doing a simple hand target because I can move my hand back and have the dog come up and touch my hand. So it kind of distracts the dog. Like instead of, I have to come and I don't want to, but it's like, oh, I get to go touch their hand and then I get a reward for it. And then when they are touching their hand, we would start to grab the collar and then release. So then the dog gets used to having her collar grabbed, but then we immediately release her. So It's like a fun thing. Like I come, I get a treat, and then I get to go play again. And we're just kind of desensitizing her to having her collar grabbed. Um, and then we played like the recall game where we stood at opposite sides of the house and then opposite sides of the driveway and called her back and forth and made a game out of it. And then I would like duck behind a car and say, "Come find me." And then the owner would duck behind the house and say, "Come find me." So the dog had a blast running back and forth playing the hide and seek game and the recall game. So I will do that again. 6 foot leash, 15 or 20 foot leash, 30 foot leash. Then I'll have them drag a leash. And then before I trust them off leash, I will go to an enclosed like tennis court, um, anything that's enclosed. Not necessarily your backyard because dogs are kind of more likely to come if it's just their own yard. But like you could go to a dog park when there's no other dogs around. I don't recommend trying to practice recall when your dog's playing with other dogs. Because again, then your dog gets reinforced for ignoring you because he's playing with other dogs. So practicing in an enclosed tennis court, something like that. And if your dog is coming every single time, then you can start like trusting your dog off leash with um, with recalls. But that's kind of how I go through it. The other thing too is so this guy's dog got um, bolted. They do have an electric fence, which I'm not thrilled about, but they live in an HOA where they can't have a regular fence. But if this dog sees another dog, he will jump through the electric fence to go to the pond and play with the other dog, which is not good because right now it's ice. But what's going to happen when it starts to melt and the dog goes running over there? Um, so he spent all this time like trying to catch the dog, and the dog finally came, but he was livid. And he kind of scolded the dog instead of praising. So even if, like, no matter how upset you are with your dog, if they finally come, you have to praise them because all they're going to remember is, oh, I came to you and I got in trouble, so I'm not going to come to you anymore. So you want to make sure. And sometimes my praise when they come is my high happy voice of, oh, I'm so mad at you, you are so naughty, and I'll probably be cussing at the dog, but I do it in my happy voice, so I'm venting, but the dog thinks they're the best dog ever. Um, so yeah, if your dog finally comes, you have to praise. So does that give you some stuff to work on, Anthony? Hopefully, I mean, recall is one of those that is so important, and it takes a long time because if a dog, especially, is playing with another dog or sniffing something or otherwise engaged, a lot of times they're not going to come. So I use higher value treats with recall too. So I'll use something really good that the dog will want to come back and get, and then I'll usually say, okay, go play. So so coming doesn't always mean I'm going to put you in your crate or I'm going to put you back on a leash or things like that. So it should always be fun and never associated with something bad. So if you do have to crate or bathe or do nails, sometimes it's better just to go get the dog and go get him rather than calling them. Hi, Daff. So let me know if that answered your question or if you have other questions. Okay, Elizabeth, last week you gave me some tips on how to train my dog to only come upstairs when given permission. However, it was a total disaster. Oh no. He didn't even allow me to get onto the first step. And after a few way to chew a toy or something else, what can I do? Um, so maybe you could do something like the recall game. So what about like a sit stay or a sit wait at the bottom? Um, and if your dog is like then going off to do something else, I would start with like maybe working on stay without the stairs. So a stay for 5 seconds, and then a stay, move one step back, and then go back to your dog and treat. And then work on distance and duration. And then get to the bottom of the stairs and do a sit stay. And then go up like one or two stairs and then call the dog to you. So do a recall, have a leash there just in case you need it to help with the recall, and then have your dog like run up the 2 to 3 steps and get a treat. And then do a sit stay at the bottom, go up to the landing, call your dog to come up and get a treat. So rather than letting your dog just decide, oh, I don't want to do this, I'm going to walk away, keep them focused on you. So when I do a stay with my dog, I usually always have a treat bag on, or I have treats. And so the dog is super focused on me because they know that either I'm going to come back and give them a reward, or I'm going to call them to me and then they get a reward for coming. So they don't, at least with mine, I've never had, and you know, most of the ones I work with, it's just the way that I teach it. I start with like sit, stay, and I'll count to 5, click, treat, good stay. And then I'll say stay, and then I'll take one step back. And this time, since I'm adding duration, then I only do 3 seconds. Count to 3, go back to the dog, click and treat. And then I also like to use a release word such as free or release, and I'll toss a treat away and say free, and then that means the dog can get up and move. So the dog should stay. Yeah, they're hearing the release word. I'm just kidding, just kidding. Um, so, um, sorry, all my dogs came because they heard free. Now I lost my train of thought. Um, oh, yeah, the only 2 times that your dog should get out of a stay is if you release them with free or you call them to you. And you can call them to do a touch, hand targeting, or just call them to come to you. So I would work on that on the floor first, and even work on the recall on the ground first, and then do the stairs. So depending on how many stairs you have, um, you know, start with doing this just at the bottom of the stairs without you going up the stairs, and then going up maybe 2 stairs, calling your dog, treating, and kind of do it that way. So that if you have your dog in a behavior such as a sit stay or a down stay, or even like a wait, I do the same thing with wait. Wait is kind of more wait a second and then you get what you want, but um, you could do either for this one. But I would probably do stay just so it's like stay put. And then the dog, I mix it up a lot. So sometimes I go back to the dog and click and treat and then ask for a stay again. So even though you click and treat, does not mean that the dog is free. It just means that you clicked and treated, and then I'll say stay again. And then sometimes I'll just go back and pet him and say, oh, good stay, good job. And then I'll say stay. And then I'll back up again. And then sometimes I'll toss a treat and say free. Sometimes I'll call the dog to me. Sometimes I'll ask for a touch. So the dog focus is always on me because they don't know what's coming next because I change it every time. So they're really paying attention like, okay, what's going to come next? Am I going to get released? Do I get the treat? Am I going to have to stay? And so they just really focus on you, which can help. So try that and tell me how that goes. So it sounds like we just need to back up even a few more steps and just work on a stay or a wait on the ground first and then move it to the stairs. And I would maybe do a stay instead just because it's a little bit more permanent. Okay, Julie. Renee. Hello, Renee. Let me write Renee down. Um, okay, Julie, from my question last week, I was thinking for my dogs to meet my mom's dogs, male and female, taking them out one at a time on a walk. Yes, I always recommend doing a parallel walk first. Um, And since you have two dogs and your mom has two dogs, I would take one of yours and one of hers out, and then that same one of yours with the other one of your mom's, and then do it with your other dog. So you're just taking two dogs out at a time, letting those two get used to each other, and then switching it up. And then you can try taking like your two dogs and your mom's two dogs all together, um, and just do a parallel walk. Let them air sniff each other. Um, if if you can handle it with walking two dogs at a time, you can practice like doing a 2 second butt sniff, and then praise them, stuff like that. So yes, I always recommend meeting on neutral territory and doing a parallel walk first. So I think that's an awesome plan. Okay, Nicole, especially when possible, I like to run backwards so that he starts running after me during recall. Yes, and I do that too. Hey, Julie, I actually do that too, because dogs like the chase game. So when I say my COME, when the dog starts to come, I'll even run backwards a little bit and just like, oh, let's go, this is so fun, let's go this way. And I use my high, nerdy, squeaky, obnoxious voice. Sorry, I'm just watching it snow. Um, and I do run backwards so that the dog like wants to get to me, especially since I have a treat. The dog has to kind of chase me to get the treat. Hey, Brian, how are you guys? So yes, I do that as well, and we'll run backwards. It's funny because, oops, um, it's funny because when I do it, I always look behind me first because I've tripped so many times running backwards, especially in people's houses when I don't know like how their house is set up. So now I'm used to just like looking behind myself to see what's there because I don't want to trip because I have tripped before. Um, oh, okay. Hi, Anita. I love that no matter what day or time we do these, I always have you guys um, regulars on here, which I love. Um, okay, Anthony, you're using a long lead when we're at the park. Perfect. I mean, that's awesome. I carry a long lead in my car all the time. And even with Jade, who's 3 years old now, and I've had her for 2 years, she gets super distracted out when she's sniffing. I mean, I think she's part hound dog because she loves to sniff stuff. And when she's sniffing, she doesn't hear me. Like, she does not hear me. And so, if I'm practicing recall with her, I will always use a long line just so that I can then start to reel her in and encourage her to come and then reward her and then let her go again. So, yeah, I think with her, she's the hardest dog I've ever taught recall to. And she's really smart and she learns a lot of stuff, but man, she gets distracted. And when she's distracted, there is no getting her. So that's why if she's off leash, I'll whistle or say, over here, let's go, I'm leaving. And I'll start to go the other way. And she's got just enough separation anxiety that if I start running the other way or moving the other way, she'll come. So that really works for me. But when I'm practicing the recall, I always do it on leash. Or sometimes if I'm at the facility where I teach my classes, that's all enclosed and it's not a huge room. So then I'll practice it there off leash. And it's still distracting because it's a doggy daycare. So during the day, there's like 50 dogs in there. And so there's lots of smells and stuff. And so then I'll practice off leash with her there um, first. So, yeah, so what you're doing is right. And it just takes time. Okay, Nicole. Also, with both pups, they get so excited on recalls, they sometimes jump on me, but I still reinforce because I would rather have them come than not and 4 feet on the floor. I agree. Because coming to you should be so fun and exciting that Now, if I'm doing like really obedience training type of stuff, like when we do service dog type stuff, the dogs aren't supposed to jump. So then I'll do like a come front, which means come sit and look at me. But if Jade's out sniffing something, and I'll usually whistle or say, let's go. And then as soon as she starts running towards me, and if she's coming anyway, and this is another one of my rules, if the dog's coming to you anyway, then I'll say, oh, good, come. And then I make it like super fun. And then make it really fun when they get to me. And then, yes, they can jump. I pet them, give them treats, throw a ball, like whatever, so that it's really, really fun and positive. And one reason why this other dog that I worked with today didn't come is because the guy would call her, grab her leash, and then put a leash, or grab her collar, put a leash on, and then bring her inside. So now she's like, I don't want to come to you because I don't want to come in. I want to stay out. So yeah, it always has to be really fun. Okay, Anita. Um, so now a little bit rings bells to come back in, but after she jumps on door, how can I get her to not jump on the door, which is the whole reason to use the bells? Will she ever unlearn the jump on the door? Well, that's a good question. I mean, you could, for a while, go out with her and then bring her up to the door and ask her to sit. So immediately ask her to sit and then say, you want to come back in, and put your hand behind the bell and have her ring the bell, and then open the door and let her in. And do that over and over and over again. So she learns that she comes up to the back door, sits, rings the bell with her nose, and then she gets to come in. So you teach her that pattern, and you do it over and over so that it just becomes a pattern. I think eventually she'll, she'll get out of that. But I would still create a new pattern and do it like over and over. So if remember that we want something that's incompatible. So if little bit is sitting, then she can't be jumping on the door. But you'll have to be out there with her to bring her up to the door and ask for a sit and then ring the bell and then come in. So she learns that's the order. And you could start by bringing her up to the door, sit, click and treat, and then ring the bell and then come in. So once she rings the bell, the reward is she gets to come in. So you don't have to double treat for that. Um, and so you're going to reward each one separately, but then you're going to like chain them together. So then it's like you come up to the door and sit, then you ring the bell, and then you get to come in and get a treat, if that makes sense. That's a really good question. Elizabeth, he does stay really good, and I can make him stay for over 3 minutes, but at the bottom of the stairs, he doesn't stay or wait. Um, so what I would do is break it down even more so that, let's say the stairs are behind me. I would stand like right in front of the stairs, but don't even go up the stairs yet, and practice a stay. Um, and then like take one step backwards and then go back and reward. And then do a stay and step up on one step and then step down, go back and reward. And then go back on that one step again and then call him to you, um, and reward. So break it down even more. So when you're at the stairs, like at first you're just standing in front of the stairs. You're not even moving on the stairs yet. Um, and you could work on focus, like you could work on a watch me. Some people call it look at me. I use watch me. But you could work on a stay, focus, and then click and treat. Some people call it eyes. Some people call it, watch me. Some people call it focus. But but just, and then reward him for paying attention. So instead of getting bored and wanting to walk away and not participate, first make it not about the stairs at all. So I'm going to reward you for looking at me. I'm going to reward you for sitting and staying. And then you're going to just barely just go up. And if you have to split it even more, just step up with one foot but not the other, come back and treat. Then step up with both and then come back and treat. So sometimes go back to the dog and treat, and then sometimes call the dog to you. Elizabeth, if you could take a video of what you're doing and send it to me, I might be able to troubleshoot it a little bit more if I can see kind of what's going on. Also, if there's other things that are more fun than than training, then you might have to up the value of your treats, especially like if there's other toys and stuff, and your dog's like, I don't want to play the stairs game because my toys are over here. But if you have really fun treats or really good toys with you at the stairs, so that your dog wants to pay more attention to you than other stuff, then that's going to be better. I'm laughing right now because Jade is on the bed eating an antler, and Willy Wonka wants it. And so Willy is just standing there staring at Jade. Like, if I stare long enough, maybe she'll give it to me. I have 4 antlers. Some of them I think that they've drug outside, but I know I have 4, so I don't know why they all want the same one because they all have their own. But it's kind of funny. He's just sitting there like so polite and just watching and waiting for her to leave it. And the really good thing is that Jade's not growling at him, because usually Jade sometimes will growl. Oh, that's a good girl, Jade. So Jade just walked away and gave it to him. So, oh, that's a good girl. Thank you for sharing. That's so nice. Yeah, these guys are so funny. Food I can't leave out, but toys and stuff they'll steal. You want to say hi to everybody? Say hi to everybody. Yeah, see, that was very good to share. I know that was such a good girl to share. So like right now she's jumping up, but I'm loving on her because she didn't she didn't growl at Willie, and she gave him the antler, and then she came over to say hi. So I praised her for that. Um, okay, so anyway, getting back, Trisha, if you can send me a video of what you're doing and just email it to me, then I might be able to look at it and troubleshoot and give you a little bit better idea of what to do. Let's see, Brian, what's normal amount of times for going poop? Almost always go in the morning, but sometimes that's it. Oh, well, because it's usually 2 or 3. Because mine will go in the morning, um, but then especially with Jade, because Jade goes a lot of times with me during the day, she'll go again. And it depends on how active they are. So the more active they are, the more they're going to go. So if if your dog is just going in the morning and then isn't super active and kind of just laying around, then um, he may not have to go again. But usually they have to go after dinner. So it depends on what time you're feeding dinner, and then how long. And dogs are different. I mean, there's so Willy Wonka, my foster dog. I feed him and then immediately put him back outside to go potty because it literally like goes right through him. Um, but the girls can go hours after eating before they have to go. So it does depend on the dog, but I think most of them should go like twice a day. Um, there's a dog that I walk for. We do walk and train, so we're working on leash walking. The owner's 84 years old, so when it's icy out, he doesn't come with me. But even if she goes out in the morning and I get there at 10, she will always poop on a walk. And I think it's because she's walking and moving, and so it's getting things really like moved around. So she usually always goes on a walk. So she's going like twice in the morning before noon. And then I don't know what she does the rest of the day. What do you have? Oh, you have a Kong. Okay. Um, so Yeah, but if your dog's just going like once a day, I don't think that's enough. So you might add like a probiotic or something in the dog in your dog's food, or ask your vet. Ask your vet if and it could be that, I mean, the better the food that you feed, the less your dog has to go, because your dog is using all of the food as like nutrients. But the more fillers and stuff that the food has, then the more waste there is. So it might be a sign that you're feeding really, really good food and not a lot of it's coming out as waste because the dog's body is using it all. So it could be that as well. But I would ask your vet for sure. So okay, Matthew. I just purchased the recall course. I don't have time to do all those levels. I work 12 hours. If I train when I have time, will I still get results? Yes. Um, so even if you're really, really busy, so I work like 10 to 11 hours a day. Um, and I have 4 dogs at home that don't get trained every day and they don't get trained as much as they should. But even if you do 10 or 15 minutes, 1 or 2 times a day, that is better than nothing. And it might take a while longer to get a good recall, but you're still going to get results. And actually, the short sessions are better. So I'll do like a 10-minute, really focused recall session, end it with a game of chase the ball or tug or something really fun, and then call it. And then maybe 10 minutes before bedtime or something like that. But yeah, if you can get even one in a day short, um, and even do something like call your dog for breakfast. So, and here's something that you can kind of do to get really good bang for your buck as far as mental exercise, which dogs need, and a little bit of training. So first thing in the morning, like if you let your dog out to go potty, um, get his breakfast or her breakfast. Um, oh, him. Okay. So get his breakfast ready and then call him. Again, I wouldn't use COME unless you're sure he's going to come. But you can say, hey, let's go breakfast. And then as he comes running to you, say, oh, good COME. Um, and so then you're practicing the recall and then ask him to sit. And you could even feed in a snuffle mat. So I'm all for ditching the food bowl. And then your dog's going to eat breakfast anyway. And now you're getting mental enrichment and nose work in because the dog is going to use the snuffle mat to get the food rather than just out of a bowl. So just feeding breakfast, you've got recall, sit. You can add weight in there if your dog knows how to wait, and then mental nose work with a snuffle mat rather than a bowl. So yes, you still will get results. It might just take a little bit longer. Um, so if he gets distracted with stuff, I would always practice it on a leash so that if he's distracted, you can gently reel him in, like not yank, but just start to walk backwards and gently reel him in. And as soon as he turns to give you his attention, right when that turn happens and they start to come to me, that's when I mark with the clicker or the yes. And then super, like lots of praise and then reward. So yeah, I get it. I work a lot of hours too, like 6 days a week. And so I don't get as much time with my dogs as I want either, which is why Jade is 3 and we're still working on stuff. But that's just because I don't have time to spend with my own dogs. By the time I get home, I'm like, okay, I'm done training. I don't want to do anymore. So my own dogs don't get trained. They're pretty good. I mean, Maddie's 11 and I've had her since she was 5. So she's gone through the training, and um, so yeah, you just do the best you can. I mean, everybody's lifestyle. Um, is different. So some people have a lot of time to work, and other people don't. Um, so some, some of the clients that I work with that are like retired or home a lot, in my opinion, they spend way too much time training because then the dogs will get bored, burned out, tired, and then I'll hear like my dog just doesn't want to do anything, and sorry, my cat's out and makes me itch. Um, so I always recommend short, fun training sessions, then end in a play session because that's kind of like a reinforcer for the training. They get treats during training, but then after training, then we get to play for 5 minutes, um, and it doesn't have to take longer than 15 minutes total. So yeah. Nicole, I didn't look behind me on Monday and ran into the trainer. Yes, that sounds like something I would do. Willow, you have a job. Awesome. Where did you get a job? And I remember there were a couple that you were looking at. So that's awesome. Congrats. Elizabeth, I'll email you. Could also be that he's in a teenage stage and training has been difficult. Absolutely. When your dog hits like 7 to 8 months, you have a teenager and you have an adolescent. And so they're going to be just like at least a lot of teenagers that try to push the boundaries or try to see what they can get away with or not listen. That's exactly what dogs do. So that's just when you need to like really get that structure, that predictability, let them know this is what we're going to do, and reward, like really reward good behavior. Catch your dog doing things that you really like and reward that. So it's kind of like when Jade was, oh, now they're actually laying on the bed together eating something. Jade doesn't like to share. I'll just tell you, she doesn't like to share. And so when I look over and see like her giving up her elk antler or actually sharing the bed with Willie, then I catch her doing stuff like that. And normally, if I wasn't on a live, I would praise her or give her treats or do something just to say, oh, what a good girl. Thanks for sharing. That's so awesome. And then she learns, oh, mom loves it when I do this. I'm going to do more of this because I get lots of praise and loves and treats and stuff like that. So, especially with the teenage stage, if you can catch your dog doing things you like, then do that and they will continue to be reinforced. Okay, Nicole, speaking of poop, I'm excited because Moose has started pooping on walks. Oh, that's awesome. Doesn't seem like much, but he used to act scared to poop if I was around. That's awesome. And another thing you can do is when he does poop on walks, don't praise him during the movement because we don't want him to like stop. But wait till he's done and then praise him. Just say, oh, good job. What a good boy. And treat. Um, you can give him a little treat afterwards, but at least like really praise him, make a big deal about like what a big boy and oh, that was so good. And just kind of gush over him so that again, he knows that that's what you like is when he does it out on walks and outside and in front of you, and that if he does, that good things happen. So it sounds like he's coming around. That's awesome. Okay, let me go back up and see if I missed any, because sometimes I do. Um, and Elizabeth, you know my email, right? The Tracy with an I at Pupford.com. It's so much easier for me to actually see something because then I can look and say, oh, yeah, okay, so do this, this, this. Because I have in my head what it looks like, but it may be totally different from what you're doing. So it'll be a lot easier if you can send me a video. Um, okay, let's see. Oh, and Matthew, when I worked at the rescue, I also worked a ton of hours, and right now I still work a ton of hours, but it's different. I see like 3 to 5 clients a day, and the rest of the time I'm home, like writing up training plans, doing emails, setting appointments. So I'm still home, and to an extent, I can sometimes work on training while I'm home. Um, but when I was working in rescue, I mean, I was running around all day long, and by the time I got home, I was like plumb exhausted. Did not want to do anything dog. So with my own dogs, it's just like, okay, don't chew the furniture, don't potty in the house. Beyond that, I don't care what you do. But now I have a much better schedule that allows me to like spend more time. And sometimes, since Jade is a service dog in training, I actually will block out time just for her training. Because if I don't make it an appointment, I won't do it. So like last night, I made an appointment for 7 o'clock, and I met with 2 other people, and we went to Ace Hardware and practiced. So I actually have to block it out, and then I will go train. Oh, Jake's got the antlers in. Willie, go get your toy. Where's your other toy? Oh, they're so funny. At least they're being good tonight. Most of you guys have been here before when it's just chaos. Oh, Willow, where did I don't know if I saw your answer yet. Um, where did you get your job? Nicole, even in the backyard, I would look away when he did it and then praise after because he used to stop pooping and run off. That's that's actually kind of cute that he's like shy to poop in front of you. Um, yeah, but that's good that he's just doing it now in front of you and on walks. I think that's amazing. Okay, if there aren't any more questions, I'll do a drawing and then let you guys go early. I'll just look through here one more time and see if I missed anything. Matthew, if you could tell me where you're from, I can add you in to the drawing. Most of these guys I already know where they're from, but I can't remember where you're from. So if you want to hurry and put that in the chat, I can add you to the drawing. It's funny. So these guys will go to the toy box, and Willie will bark at the toy box because the toy he wants is on the bottom. And so then he'll like take every single toy out to get the one at the bottom. And it's usually the most raggedy, scraggly toy that he wants. Like I have all these really nice new cool toys, and he wants the one that he's already almost chewed up that looks like it needs to go in the garbage, and that's the one he wants. But he'll like pick out every single toy and then get the one he wants. It's adorable. It's really funny. Now I just have to train them how to put them back in the toy box. They can get them out, but they don't put them back in. Oh, Nicole, I thought maybe previous owner scolded him. He wasn't fully priced. You know, that is very, very possible. Especially if he's a rescue and got scolded for going in the house, that would explain why he is afraid to go in front of you. So, yeah, and especially if he cowered when you picked him up, then, hey, Maddie, that's a kitty litter. Oh, that you're having. Okay, you go get it. Go get it. I thought she was trying to get into the box, which is just kitty litter. She had a Kong. Go get your Kong. It's okay. You can have that. Yeah, if he cowered, there it's probably that he was scolded. So now you just have to change that emotional response to um, like I love it when you go to the bathroom in front of me and I'm going to give you praise and treats and let you know that it's okay. And it might take a little bit depending on how long he had been scolded before. Um, it might take a little bit to get him like over that, but once he learns that you're not going to scold him and that you're going to praise him and reward him for doing it, then he'll start doing it more. So um, that's good. And that's so good of you to rescue him and give him a new lease on life. I had a client Saturday night. It was a Zoom, it was virtual, but they had rescued a dog that was 8 years old and had been part of a puppy mill as the breeding female. And so this dog had literally spent 8 years of her life in a cage with no bottom because the dog pancakes on the ground and Maddie, leave my bag alone. Pancakes on the ground, is afraid to walk, won't look at people, like so shut down. It was just heartbreaking to see. We did make a little bit of progress though, as far as getting the dog to even go walk outside to go potty and then come back in on her own. But it was just heartbreaking to see just like the spirit crushed in this dog. Now she's got a good home, but again, it's been 8 years. So, um, it's going to take a little bit of time to fix that, but it's definitely fixable. It'll just take a while. Nicole, vet thinks he was 10 to 12 months when I got him, and I've had him for 11 months now. Yeah, and if one of those, like if that happened during a fear period too, that's really going to affect him. Um, so then it might take even longer. But since he's still young, you can totally turn it around. So okay. All right, let me do a drawing, and then if there are any other questions, I can go ahead and answer them. So tonight's winner is Nicole Robertson from Oklahoma. So congratulations, Nicole. And this is who you're going to email, hello@pupford.com, and let them know what kind of treats you want, and they will send those out to you. And I sent Pupford some really funny pictures of some of my dogs that they can use when they're setting up the event. So you guys will have to tell me what you think. A couple of them are of Willie, giving me this look like, where's my treat? So I told them they could use that, and then just Daphne with her underbite. So we'll see if they use some of them next week. They're kind of funny. So anyway, thanks you guys for joining. Next week, I don't have my calendar. Next week, I believe it's 7. So since we did an last week we did 5. This week we did 6. So next week it'll probably be 7. And I think Wednesday, either Wednesday or Thursday. So hope you guys can all make it. Have a great weekend. Oh, and I hope you guys all had a happy Valentine's day, and have a great rest of your week. And I will see you guys next week. Have a good night.